Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wellness Blueprints. I'm Jess Milner. I'm so glad you're here to nourish your roots with me. Today, we're going to talk about more with alignment, but finding alignment in the chaos because life is chaos. And right now, the chaos is getting ourselves back into the swing of the school year, the fall, something about the summer coming to an end, and things are shifting, things are changing. And I mean, now with like back to school, many of you probably know that we homeschool our kids. And I even posted last week because I was ordering all the kids like workbooks. They do like an online curriculum, and I was ordering like the workbooks that were made with it, so that they would have like all of their stuff. And there were a bunch of them that were not available that you couldn't just buy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to print all of these things out. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this all weekend and won't be able to do anything else because my printer, for whatever reason, it takes like for I joke that it takes like 4 business days to receive data. And like for real, like it takes forever. So it would be like if I have to print like 4 pages of PDFs for like my son's class or something, it'll like be sending like receiving data for like, oh my gosh, like, probably a good like minute and a half, 2 minutes, which is like an eternity when you're waiting for a piece of paper to print. But then it'll do that again in between every page. So it's like not even receiving it all at once. So like, when my daughters have like 10, 11, 12 pages each for just their science class, and so there's like 20, 24 pages that have to be printed, and like it's going to take like, and it's like literally going to take hours. In the past, I've been like stuck next to the printer for literal hours just trying to print certain things out. Well, I got up early today. I didn't do crap all weekend, like in terms of getting ready for school because I was just not feeling it, right? So I got up early. I wanted to beat the heat. Oh my gosh, is it freaking hot where you are? Because like it is over 100 degrees today, which is like it's not usually this hot right now in North Idaho, but it still does cool off into the 60s at night. So this morning, I wanted to get my lifting session before it was so ungodly hot that, it just wasn't going to happen. So I got up early and I'm like, okay, like I'll bring my laptop, let me start getting this stuff printed, right? Well, I go boop, 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 boop. Don't you know that bitch printed just like you normally would? Like it just printed. So I don't know. We replaced the black toner. I don't know what happened, but yeah, hey man, it all printed. So now I have everybody that I needed to print something for. I have their entire first units, like not just like their first lessons. I have their whole first units printed out. So I was like, hey man, I procrastinated all weekend and that worked out. And then I was like, okay, so we don't have folders and notebooks and binders. So my son and I, like 9:30 this morning, we went down to the dollar store and we got all of those things on the morning of and got everything that we needed. So, you know, I'm telling you this story because, sometimes everything works out even when you don't have everything like perfectly planned and prepped the way that you think you're supposed to, right? So, I mean, there's all different kinds of like moms and schooling and everything. You might be a stay-at-home mom, you might be a working mom, maybe you work from home, maybe you're homeschooling, maybe you have co-ops, maybe the kids are going to private or public school. So, like, there's all different kinds of ways that we get ready for this shift going back into this time of year of the school year. And everything can work out even if everything is not perfectly prepped. Alignment isn't about being perfectly prepped, it's about being supported in the moment sometimes. And I was supported in the moment this morning. Now I also had wrenches thrown into my plans and stuff this morning as well, but overall, like, I got a lot of shit done before 10 a.m. So we don't have to have, the perfect labels all done and the clothes laid out and lunches prepped and everything's all perfect. And you make like their little sandwich shaped into like whatever little flower or whatever. If you're doing that, awesome, because I know it looks awesome, but like I'm not going to do it every day. I might do it once in a while, but I love that. But most of us are just winging it in one way or another. So, we don't need to give ourselves these unrealistic expectations because that's just going to throw us right on out of alignment. Okay. Don't like, everything doesn't have to be perfect. Alignment certainly does not mean perfection. And we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but being flexible, being present, being tuned into what matters, that's alignment. Okay. Perfectionism just really doesn't have any space there. And when we are more aligned, when we're present, when we're tuned in, then even when we have hiccups, they can kind of flow with ease because we are better able to adapt because we're not like overstimulated and, our nervous systems already are feeling safe. So we're like, okay, like we can shift and change, this, that, or the other thing without completely freaking out because your nervous system feels safe. So, with all this back to school stuff and everything, it's a time for new rhythms. It's a time for nervous system shifts. It's still hot, like I mentioned. I don't know how hot it is where you are, but it is still hot. So, that's going to add extra stress. So go ahead and make sure you're getting grounded, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you are, it's okay to have simple meals, you don't have to be stuck in the kitchen cooking all the live long day. So there is no like right way. Everybody's rhythms are different. And so right now you are shifting into your rhythm for this time of year. And I'm shifting into mine. So you're going to find your flow and don't worry about comparing yourself to other people. It's just going to piss you off. So it's okay. It's okay. So there are a couple of things, as far as these like nervous system shifts and stuff. Now with hydration, you can do like a hydration with intention. So, you whatever it is that you're drinking. This is my energized, my Make Wellness energized. But if you're having like you're hydrated or just some water or whatever it is that you're having, you're hydrating yourself with, you can choose like an intention as you're stirring it, as you're drinking it. Like I choose flow. I choose ease. I choose to be calm here. Not like in a, serenity now kind of a way, but just, to kind of remind yourself that you can choose to stay in a calmer state. This is going to help to ground you and reset your energy. Very similar to, because sometimes you do one hand over your heart, the other hand over 3 deep breaths in and out through the nose. And then you switch your hands. So, excuse me. So that can reset your energy as well. So doing this can also do that, just hydrating while you're drinking that water. I am choosing to flow just like this water is flowing into me, choosing to go with the flow. A 5-minute reset outside. You do not need to be outside for an hour. You don't need to be going doing this, that, and the other thing for an hour to get yourself grounded and, get your nervous system reset and everything. If you have that time, excellent, go and do it. If it's 100 degrees outside, like it is at my house right now, maybe not spend a full hour out there, unless you're super hydrated and you got some shade and stuff like that. At the beach or whatever like that, like there are times, but go outside for 5 minutes, take your shoes off, wander around a little bit. You don't, just that a little bit of time, take those deep breaths in and just, kind of be aware of where you are and what's going on. You can do this along with it or separately, a quick 3 breath pause. It's intentional and it's signaling your nervous system to understand that it is safe. Unless you're actually being chased by a bear, in which case, that's quite scary. But most of the time we're not. So an intentional 3 breath pause. And you can even, you can say like, oof, I choose to be calm. I choose to let whatever it is that's bothering me go, that sort of thing. You can be intentional with stuff like that at any time, really. And what I want you to do, at the end of the day, because we can have really bad days and we have a tendency to point out like all of the shit that's so bad, like, oh my gosh, this and this happened. It was just the worst thing ever. And I do it too, you're like, like vent to my husband. I can't believe all this crap happened. But find something at the end of the day that was aligned. What was aligned about today? Because there's probably something. There's almost always there's something, and we don't always necessarily see it because we have a tendency to not count our blessings like we should. What's one little bit of happiness that you had? Something that gave you a warm fuzzy that made you go, okay, this isn't so bad. So, find it is what is that one small thing that was aligned today? And sometimes it's going to be a big thing and that, or several things, and that's going to be awesome. But sometimes you can just go, okay, what is like that one little thing? And then, go ahead and like write yourself like a permission slip. I'm saying permission slip because it's like, back to school thing, but, it's okay if your dinner is simple. It's okay if you didn't prep everybody's lunches and they're not, shaped like this, that, and the other thing. It's okay if, you didn't get the laundry folded or, you're not, it's okay. Give yourself permission to not be perfect. Okay. Because this will help to allow you to rewire that perfectionism because it's like this pressure to be perfect that we have from our culture. It's like, go, do, make it perfect. Everything, like, especially with social media now, a lot of times we see people like, showing like these things that look all perfect and everything. And sometimes for the video, it does look perfect, but real life isn't that way. And we want to rewire that perfectionism pressure so that we can have self-compassion. That's what you want is you want to have self-compassion instead. So you've got to let go of the perfectionism to be able to do that, because otherwise there's no space, because the two are not going to, it's just kind of like, you can't be in survival mode and experience bliss at the same time. The two, like you can't. You have to choose between the two. And most of the time we're just in survival mode. So if you want the bliss, you have to let go of that. So we're letting go of that perfectionism so that we can feel the self-compassion that we need to feel to understand that it's okay and we're not perfect. So where just, give it a moment and think about, over just the last week, when did you get some perfectionism kind of like caught in the midst of your day, where you were upset with yourself over something, where is somewhere that you can find some perfectionism? Because this, like I've mentioned before, this is an emotion that I find in people quite a bit. And, when going through for emotion code or body code, or if we're doing quantum frequency blueprint, or just kind of looking at, like what's going on with the energy centers in general, perfectionism is a pretty big one. So think of where that might be, and anytime in the last week or so. And as you're thinking about it, just take a deep breath in and just envision that perfectionism, however you want it to look. It can look like a little word floating around, like on Sesame Street or something, or it can be whatever you want it to be. But envision it just completely blowing the hell away from you on your exhale. Let it go, because it's not serving you. Because what we want is alignment, not perfectionism. Because perfectionism is implying that we are flawless, and that's not what we are. Alignment does not mean flawless. It means that you're flowing with your season, whatever that is. It's going to be different from somebody else's. So you want to flow with your own seasons and shift with your own rhythm, and trust that you're supported. So there really is no right way. So, find your flow and don't compare yourself to other people, because they're just winging it too, just like we are, because none of us is perfect. So if you have not yet downloaded my free daily energy alignment guide, please go and grab that. It is free. It's my gift to you. That is at go.deeprootedwellnessid.com/daily-energy. So go ahead and pick that up. And go ahead and leave me a 5-star review, and share this with somebody who needs a reminder that she doesn't have to do it all. She doesn't have to be perfect about it. And this is how we find alignment in the chaos, because life absolutely is going to be chaotic just by our very nature of being humans. And we're here under, all of this stuff. We're just kind of like thrown here into schoolroom earth. And there's going to be chaos, because we're going to understand something in one way. Somebody else is going to understand it in another way. There's going to be conflicts. There's always going to be stuff going on, but things can work out even in the chaos. Allow yourself to let go of the things that are not super important, so that you can be present, you can be flexible, and you can be tuned in to what actually matters most. And remember, I'm going to say it again. Alignment does not mean flawless. It means flowing with your season, whatever that might be. So please share this with somebody who needs to hear all about it. And thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope that you are staying cool and that you are shifting into this. Now, here we are. It's September. We're in the Burr months. I'm hoping that you are shifting beautifully into this next section. We're not completely out of summer, but there is something about these couple weeks in the year here that shift us back into a time where we're getting back into a rhythm, or into a new rhythm that may be different, slightly different than before, or completely different. So whatever it is you're doing, I want you to know that your rhythm is yours, and it's freaking awesome, and you're doing a good job. So just take a deep breath and take that 3-breath pause, go outside for 5 minutes, and remember that none of us are perfect. Not a single one of us. So find the alignment in that chaos, and happy back to school, everybody. Bye for now.